The stars looked different tonight. Samantha Ward noticed this as she stared at her monitor in the basement level of the Pentagon. Something was blocking the usual patterns. She adjusted her glasses and leaned closer to the screen. 6 objects, moving in perfect formation, were approaching Earth's orbit. They were not asteroids. They were not satellites. They were ships. Samantha picked up her phone with shaking hands. "Sir, you need to see this now." 12 minutes later, the president was informed. 30 minutes after that, Captain Daniel Miller received emergency orders to intercept the unknown vessels. His ship, the USS Defender, led 3 other spacecraft toward the visitors. "All systems ready, Captain," said Lieutenant Kelly Brooks from her station. Her voice was steady, but her knuckles were white as she gripped her console. "Let's hope they're friendly," Miller said, though 20 years in the Space Defense Force had taught him to prepare for the worst. "Open communications on all frequencies. Out." In the darkness of space, the alien vessels slowed their approach. They were smooth silver-blue ships that reminded Miller of manta rays. Beautiful but dangerous looking. "This is Captain Daniel Miller of Earth's Space Defense Force. We welcome you to our solar system and wish to establish peaceful contact." The silence stretched for almost a minute. Then Lieutenant Brooks shouted, "Energy spike! There—" A flash of green light erupted from the lead alien ship. 2 Earth vessels exploded instantly. Miller's training took over. Evasive maneuvers. "Get us out of here." The USS Defender barely escaped, its hull scorched by alien weapons fire. As they retreated, Miller watched in horror as the alien fleet continued toward Earth. "Send the warning," he ordered. Tell them we're under attack." In the Zilarian command ship, Fleet Commander Zivrax observed the primitive human vessels scatter. 2 destroyed, 1 damaged, 1 escaping. He clicked his mandibles. In disappointment, "Such weak resistance," he said to his second-in-command. "The intelligence reports must be wrong. These creatures could not have repelled the Drezkar expedition 3 cycles ago." "The reports warned that humans are deceptive, Commander," said his officer. "They may be hiding their true capabilities." Zivrax dismissed this with a wave of his upper limb. "Proceed with the invasion plan. Target their major population centers. We will have this planet secured within 1 rotation." The alien ships descended on Earth like falling stars. Their weapons turned night into day as they struck cities across the globe. Washington, Beijing, Moscow, London, Tokyo, all were hit. In the first wave, Frank Rivera was driving home from his late shift when the Chicago skyline lit up with explosions. The former Marine slammed on his brakes as buildings began to collapse. People ran screaming into the streets. Frank made a quick decision and turned his truck toward his apartment building. The scene there was chaos. Part of the structure had collapsed and smoke filled the air. Frank heard cries from inside. Without hesitation, he ran into the damaged building. "Anyone here, call out," he shouted, covering his mouth with his shirt. "Help, we're trapped," came a voice from apartment 3B. Frank knew that was where the Wilson family lived, parents and 2 young kids. Frank kicked in the jammed door and found the family huddled in a bathroom doorway. Mrs. Wilson clutched her children while her husband tried to move a fallen beam. "Come on," Frank said, lifting the beam with a surge of adrenaline. "We need to get out now." He guided them down the stairs, gathering other neighbors as they went. Outside, they watched as strange aircraft with glowing underbellies circled overhead. "What are they?" whispered Mrs. Wilson, holding her children close. "Not ours," Frank said grimly. At the Pentagon, or what remained of it, Samantha Ward had relocated to an emergency bunker with other key personnel. Reports flooded in from around the world. Major cities under attack, military bases destroyed, communication systems failing. "We need to understand their pattern," she said, studying the map of attack sites. "There's a logic to this. They're targeting command and control centers first, then infrastructure." General Phillips nodded. "Classic invasion strategy. But why now? Why us?" On the other side of the country, Dr. Olivia Bennett was asking the same question. Her observatory outside of San Diego had given her a perfect view of the alien ship's approach. She had recorded everything. Now she watched the footage again and again, looking for clues. The attack pattern wasn't random. The ships were avoiding certain areas with high levels of electromagnetic radiation. Interesting. They're sensitive to our radio waves, she muttered, making notes. That could be useful. 3 days into the invasion, Captain Miller had made it back to the lunar base. His ship was damaged but still operational. From his vantage point, he could see Earth partially obscured by the alien fleet, at least 30 large vessels now. We need to coordinate what's left of our forces, he told his crew. If we go in scattered, we'll be picked off one by one. Using short-burst transmissions to avoid detection, Miller contacted surviving military units around the world. A plan began to form, Operation Thunderstrike. In Chicago, Frank had organized his neighbors into a survival group. They had food, water, and were staying hidden from the alien patrols that now walked the streets on insect-like legs. The invaders were setting up strange equipment on major buildings. They're establishing control centers, Frank explained as they watched from a hidden vantage point. Standard occupation procedure. You seem to know a lot about invasions, said one of his neighbors. Frank shrugged. 2 tours in the Marines. Never thought I'd be fighting a war on my own street. In the secret bunker beneath what was once the White House, the president met with his remaining advisors. Samantha Ward presented her analysis. The aliens call themselves Zilarians. We've intercepted some of their communications. They expected us to surrender immediately. Well, they don't know humans very well, the president said. What's our status? We've lost 40% of our military capability, but the rest have gone underground, General Phillips reported. Captain Miller is coordinating from the lunar base, and we have reports of resistance forming in every occupied city. Dr. Bennett in San Diego has discovered something important about their technology, Samantha added. And we have a plan forming. Operation Thunderstrike. The president nodded slowly. The world has never been more united than now. Authorize it. Let's show these Zilarians who they're dealing with. In orbit, Commander Zivrax was growing frustrated. His mandibles clicked rapidly as he reviewed the reports. 5 days and still fighting? How is this possible? They have inferior technology, inferior numbers. His communication panel flashed. It was a message from the Galactic Council. Commander, said the stern face of Counselor Trelvor, we have received disturbing reports about your unauthorized action against the planet designated as Earth. Explain yourself. Zivrax straightened his posture. A simple conquest, Counselor. These humans are primitive but stubborn. We will have them subdued shortly. Trelvor's eyes narrowed. You are not aware of Earth's history, are you? The Dreskar, the Malovians, the Krell. All attempted what you are trying now. None succeeded. Those are myths, scoffed Zivrax. No, Commander. They are warnings. Trelvor leaned closer to the screen. You dare to invade Earth? You may have doomed your entire fleet. As if in answer to the counselor's words, alarms began blaring throughout the Zilarian command ship. On screens throughout the vessel, thousands of small craft were rising from Earth's surface, accompanied by a massive burst of electromagnetic energy that disrupted Zilarian systems. Operation Thunderstrike had begun. 3 weeks had passed since the Zilarians first attacked Earth. They now controlled most major cities, but their hold was not secure. Humans fought back in ways the aliens never expected. In what used to be Seattle, Nurse Alicia Johnson wiped sweat from her forehead as she finished bandaging a man's arm. Her underground clinic was hidden in an old subway tunnel. 20 injured resistance fighters rested on makeshift beds around her. The air was stuffy, lit only by battery-powered lamps. You need to rest, Alicia, said her friend Paul. You've been working for 16 hours straight. Alicia shook her head. Can't stop now. We have more coming in tonight. The tunnel door opened, and 3 people entered carrying someone between them. Alicia rushed over, then froze. The injured figure wasn't human. It was a Zilarian soldier. Are you crazy? She hissed. Why would you bring one of them here? It was attacking a family, explained one of the men. We fought back and knocked it out instead of killing it. Thought you might want to examine it, learn something useful. Alicia hesitated, then nodded. Her medical training overpowered her fear. Put it on the table over there and tie it down just in case. The alien had 4 arms and a hard outer shell. Its skin beneath the shell was a pale blue. One of its legs was badly broken. Alicia carefully examined it, taking notes on its unusual anatomy. "This is incredible," she murmured. "Its blood isn't red, it's purple. And look at these breathing holes along its sides." The Zalarian suddenly twitched. Its large compound eyes opened. Alicia jumped back as it struggled against the ropes. "Where am I?" It clicked in broken English. Before anyone could answer, the door burst open again. Lieutenant Eric Powell and his Special Forces team rushed in, weapons ready. "Step away from the alien," Powell ordered. "We've been tracking it. We're here to take it in." Alicia stood her ground. "I'm treating a patient, soldier, and I've gathered valuable medical information." Powell lowered his weapon slightly. "That's why we're here. Command wants everything you've learned plus the specimen. We can't let this opportunity slip by." Miles away, in a hidden lab beneath San Diego, Dr. Olivia Bennett worked frantically. She had received blood samples from captured Zalarians. What she discovered could change everything. "Look at this," she told Professor Kevin Martinez, who had joined her team. "Their blood cells break down when exposed to certain Earth bacteria that are harmless to us." Martinez studied the microscope slide. "You're saying we might have a biological weapon that won't hurt humans?" "Exactly." Bennett nodded. "Now we just need to figure out how to deliver it to their ships." In space, the Galactic Council meeting grew heated. 12 different alien species were represented, all watching footage from Earth. The images showed humans fighting back against Zalarian troops with surprising effectiveness. "This is disturbing," said Counselor Miridax, a tall, thin being with silver skin. "Commander Zivrax said the conquest would take days. It has been weeks and humans still resist." "The commander was warned," replied Trelvor. "Earth has been marked as dangerous for generations. There are reasons we left that planet alone." "What reasons?" asked another counselor. Trelvor activated a holographic display showing historical records. 3 separate civilizations have attempted to claim Earth. None returned. Humans appear primitive until threatened. Then they become something else. Back on Earth, Lieutenant Powell's team prepared to move the captured Zalarian and Alicia's medical data. They had converted an old delivery van to hide their movement. "So what's the plan?" Alicia asked as she joined them. She had insisted on coming along to continue monitoring the alien's condition. "We're taking your findings to Dr. Bennett," Powell explained. "And Command wants this alien interrogated. We need to understand their next moves." "Their communication centers," the Zalarian suddenly spoke, surprising everyone. "Destroy them." Powell aimed his weapon at the alien. "What did you say?" "I am medical officer, not warrior." "This invasion, wrong." The alien's mandibles clicked nervously. "Your radio waves, they hurt our systems, right frequency, could disable our communications." "Why are you telling us this?" Alicia asked. "Zivrax disobeyed counsel." "Not all. Solarians want war." In orbit, Commander Zivrax received another message from the Galactic Council. "Your invasion is unauthorized," Counselor Trelvor stated firmly. "The Council demands you withdraw immediately." Zivrax hissed in anger. "We have committed too many resources. Retreat would show weakness." "Then you leave us no choice," Trelvor replied. "We are sending Counselor Joreth to assess the situation directly. If he determines your actions violate Council law, your career will end." Zivrax cut the transmission and turned to his officers. "Accelerate the timetable. I want total control of Earth before the Council representative arrives." On the lunar base, Captain Miller reviewed the information from Powell's team. The Zalarian defector had revealed crucial details about their communication systems. "If we can disrupt their communications," Miller told his officers, "the resistance on the ground can hit them all at once. They won't be able to coordinate their defense." "But how do we transmit the right frequency to everyone?" asked Lieutenant Kelly Brooks. "We still have some satellites they haven't destroyed," Miller replied. "And Dr. Bennett has found something else we can use against them. In Chicago, Frank Rivera's resistance cell received an encoded message. Similar messages went out to fighters around the world. Operation Thunderstrike, Phase 2, Frank read aloud to his group. They want us to attack all communication centers, simultaneously, using specific radio frequencies to disrupt their systems. A woman named Grace looked concerned. We barely have weapons. How are we supposed to attack their bases? Frank smiled. We don't need big weapons. We need radio transmitters, set to these exact frequencies. And I know where to find plenty of those. In San Diego, Dr. Bennett and Professor Martinez had developed their biological agent. It was a modified form of a common soil bacterium, harmless to humans, but deadly to Zolarians. How do we distribute it? Martinez asked. I've been in contact with Captain Miller, Bennett explained. He has a plan. 3 days later, as Counselor Jorith's ship approached Earth orbit, Commander Zivrax faced a crisis. Communication centers worldwide were under attack. Strange radio frequencies were causing Zolarian soldiers to become disoriented. Even worse, many were falling ill with a mysterious disease. How is this possible? Zivrax demanded of his officers. They are primitives, sir, one officer reported nervously. The Council representative's ship has entered orbit. Shoot it down, Zivrax ordered. Make it look like a human attack. But sir, that would violate— No, do it, Zivrax shouted. I will not be recalled like a failed cadet. As Jorith's ship descended toward Earth, Zolarian weapons fired upon it. The small diplomatic vessel spiraled toward the surface, trailing smoke. In Chicago, Frank's group saw the ship falling. That's not one of theirs, Frank said, watching through binoculars. Different design. We need to check it out. Across Earth, Operation Thunderstrike's second phase began. Radio transmitters broadcast the frequencies that disrupted Zolarian communications. At the same time, the Resistance released Dr. Bennett's biological agent near alien bases. In the Galactic Council chamber, the representatives watched in shock as Jorith's ship was shot down. This is outrageous, Miridax exclaimed. Zivrax has gone too far. Trelvor nodded grimly. Now you understand why Earth was left alone, not just because humans are dangerous, but because they deserve their freedom. And now, I fear they will show the Zolarians exactly why they should have been left in peace. The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the emergency session began. Representatives from 200 worlds gathered to discuss the Earth crisis. The large circular room hummed with tension. We have lost contact with Counselor Jorith, announced Trelvor, standing at the center of the chamber. His ship was shot down over Earth. We believe Commander Zivrax is responsible. Gasps and angry murmurs filled the room. Counselor Miridax rose from her seat, her silver skin reflecting the chamber's lights. This is beyond acceptable, she said. Zivrax not only launched an unauthorized invasion, but has now attacked a council representative. What more evidence do we need before taking action? Another counselor, a reptilian being named Drath, spoke next. Before we decide, we should review what we know about these humans. Many of us have only myths and old stories to rely on. Trelvor nodded and activated the large display in the center of the chamber. Images of Earth appeared, followed by historical records. 3 times in our recorded history, advanced civilizations have attempted to claim Earth, Trelvor explained. Each time, they were defeated, despite their technological superiority. The display showed ancient battle footage. Small, human vessels fighting against massive alien ships. Ground troops using simple weapons to overcome advanced attackers. How is this possible? Asked a counselor from the back of the room. Humans have unique qualities, Trelvor replied. They are incredibly adaptable. When faced with superior force, they do not surrender. They innovate. On Earth, Frank Rivera and his resistance team had reached the crash site of Jorith's ship. They moved carefully through the woods outside Chicago, watching for Zolarian patrols. There it is, Frank whispered, pointing to a clearing where a silver craft had plowed into the ground. Unlike the manta-shaped Zolarian vessels, this ship was smaller and more elegant. Is anyone alive in there? asked Grace, peering through binoculars. As if in answer, the ship's door slid open. A tall figure stumbled out, clearly injured. It wasn't a Zilarian. This alien had smooth green skin and 4 eyes set in a face that seemed almost human. "Cover me," Frank said. "I'm going to check it out." Frank approached slowly, his gun ready but not aimed directly at the alien. The creature saw him and raised a 3-fingered hand in what appeared to be a peaceful gesture. "Help," it said in heavily accented English. "Danger." At that moment, the sound of Zilarian ships filled the air. 4 patrol vessels were approaching, fast. "They're after the survivor," Grace called out. "They're coming to finish the job." Frank made a split-second decision. "Bring him with us. Quick." The resistance fighters helped the injured alien into the forest, just as Zilarian ships opened fire on the crashed vessel, destroying any evidence. In San Diego, Dr. Bennett and Professor Martinez monitored the spread of their biological agent. Reports from around the world showed Zilarian troops falling ill, their systems unable to fight the Earth bacteria. "It's working better than we expected," Martinez said, studying the data. "Their ships are quarantining affected soldiers, which is reducing their ground forces. But they're adapting," Bennett pointed out. "They've started wearing sealed suits. We need a new delivery method to get past their defenses." Major Lisa Rodriguez entered the lab, her uniform dusty from the field. "That's why I'm here, Doctor. We have a plan to deploy your agent directly into their command ships." Bennett looked surprised. "How?" "Their ships are in orbit." "Not all of them," Rodriguez replied with a smile. "We've captured one, and Captain Miller is going to fly it right into their fleet." At the lunar base, Miller inspected the captured Zilarian vessel. His crew had spent days learning how to operate it. "Are the modifications complete?" he asked Lieutenant Brooks. "Yes, sir," she replied. "We've installed the delivery system for Dr. Bennett's agent, and the ship's identification codes are still active. They'll think we're one of them, at least long enough to get close." Miller nodded. "This is our best chance to hit them where it hurts. Select your team. We launch in 6 hours." In Chicago, Frank's group had brought the injured alien to their hideout. Alicia Johnson, who had returned from her mission with Lieutenant Powell, examined him. "His anatomy is different from the Zilarians," she explained, "but he seems to be healing rapidly." The alien watched them with his 4 eyes, apparently studying their actions. Finally, he spoke in improved English. "I am Jorith, representative of the Galactic Council. I was sent to assess the situation on your world." He looked at each human, in turn. "The Council did not authorize this invasion." Frank stepped forward. "Then why did it happen? Why didn't your Council stop it?" "Commander Zivrax acted without approval," Joreth explained. "He believed humans would be easy to conquer. The Council had warnings about Earth, but many thought they were just legends." "What warnings?" asked Powell, who had joined them. "That humans are uniquely dangerous when threatened," Joreth said. "I see now the legends were true." At that moment, their radio crackled with an encrypted message from Dr. Bennett. The biological agent had been weaponized, and Captain Miller was preparing to deploy it from orbit. "We need to coordinate with all resistance cells," Powell said. "When their communications go down and their troops fall ill, we hit every Zilarian position simultaneously." In orbit, Commander Zivrax faced a growing crisis. Half his ground forces were infected with the human disease. Resistance attacks had intensified, and now the Galactic Council was demanding his surrender. "I will not fail," he hissed to his officers. "Prepare the final solution. If we cannot have this world, no one will." "Sir," his second-in-command protested, "the planet-killer weapons were not authorized for this mission." "I am authorizing them now," Zivrax snapped. "Deploy the weapons immediately." As the Zilarian command ship prepared its most devastating weapons, a smaller Zilarian vessel approached. The ship's identification codes showed it was returning from a ground mission. "Let them dock," Zivrax ordered, not paying much attention. Inside, the approaching ship, Captain Miller and his team worked quickly. They were all wearing stolen Zilarian suits to hide their human forms. "We're in," Miller whispered as their ship docked with the command vessel. "Release the agent as soon as we're aboard." Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the debate had reached its conclusion. Trelvor addressed the assembly once more. The evidence is clear. Sivrax has violated council law in attacking Earth, but there is a larger question we must address. He paused, looking around the chamber. What is Earth's place in our galactic community? Miradak stepped forward. I propose we recognize Earth as a protected world, and if humans successfully defeat the Zalarians, we should consider them for potential membership in the council. Several councilors gasped. Membership for such a primitive world? Look again at what these primitives have accomplished, Miradak said, pointing to the latest images from Earth. They have reverse-engineered alien technology, developed biological countermeasures, and united their entire planet against an advanced invasion force, all in less than 1 month. Trelvor nodded in agreement. Perhaps the question is not whether humans are ready for the galaxy, but whether the galaxy is ready for humans. Captain Miller moved through the Zalarian command ship with his team. They wore stolen alien suits that hid their human forms. The corridors were wide and filled with strange blue light. The air smelled like metal and something sweet. Stay calm, Miller whispered to his team. Remember your training. Act like you belong here. A group of Zalarian officers walked past. They clicked their mandibles in greeting. Miller's team returned the gesture just as they had practiced. The officers continued on without suspicion. Control room should be 2 levels up, Lieutenant Brooks said quietly, checking the ship map they had memorized. The ventilation system connects to all major sections of the ship. Miller nodded. Perfect for spreading our package. In his command center, Zivrax watched as the planet killer missiles were prepared for launch. These weapons would make Earth uninhabitable for centuries. It was not the victory he had wanted, but it would prevent humans from claiming they had defeated the mighty Zalarian Empire. Sir, an officer reported, the biological contamination is spreading to decks 5 through 8. More crew members are falling ill. Seal those decks, Zivrax ordered. Nothing gets in or out. But sir, that's where the weapons control systems are located. Zivrax slammed his fist down. Then send troops in sealed suits. I want those missiles launched within the hour, on Earth. Frank's resistance group prepared for their most daring mission yet. With Counselor Jorith's help, they had identified the main Zalarian ground base outside Chicago. This was where the aliens coordinated all their North American operations. The timing must be perfect, Lieutenant Powell explained to the group. When Captain Miller releases the biological agent in the command ship, all Zalarian communications will be disrupted. That's when we strike, along with every other resistance cell worldwide. Jorith, who had recovered from his injuries, studied the humans with growing respect. Your species has surprised me, he admitted. The council thought, you were primitive because of your technology. We were wrong. Alicia checked her medical supplies one last time. Human history is full of people overcoming stronger enemies, she said. We've had lots of practice. Frank loaded his weapons and looked at the 30 men and women who had joined his group. They were not soldiers, they were teachers, office workers, students, but they fought like warriors. Let's move out, he said. It's time to take back our home. In San Diego, Dr. Bennett and Professor Martinez watched their computer screens in tense silence. They were tracking Captain Miller's mission through a secure link. The biological agent is ready, Martinez said. Once it enters the ship's ventilation system, it should spread to all decks within minutes. Major Rodriguez entered the room with urgent news. We've intercepted Zalarian communications. They're preparing to launch planet-killer weapons. If those missiles hit Earth. Miller needs to move faster, Bennett said, her face pale. Tell him we're out of time. In the Galactic Council chamber, the emergency session continued. New information had arrived from Earth that changed everything. The humans have infiltrated the Zalarian command ship, Counselor Miradax announced. And Counselor Jorith is alive, rescued by human resistance fighters. A communication screen activated, showing Jorith's face. He spoke directly to the Council from Earth. Honorable Council, I have witnessed extraordinary things on this world. Humans are not what we believe them to be. They are resourceful, adaptable, and show remarkable courage. "What do you recommend, Counselor?" Trelvor asked. "The Zilarians are preparing to deploy planet-killer weapons," Jorith replied. "We must intervene directly. I request immediate dispatch of Council peacekeeping forces." Aboard the Zilarian command ship, Miller and his team reached the central ventilation hub. They moved quickly, installing the dispersal device that would release Dr. Bennett's biological agent. "Almost ready," Brooks said, connecting the final components. "This will release the agent throughout the entire ship." Suddenly, alarms blared. A voice spoke in the Zilarian language over the ship's communication system. "They've detected unusual activity," said Airman Wilson, who had studied their language. "They're sending security teams to check all critical systems." "We're out of time," Miller decided. "Activate it now and let's move to Phase 2. Brooks pressed the activation switch. The device hummed to life, releasing an invisible cloud of Earth bacteria into the ventilation system. Within moments, it would spread to every corner of the massive ship. "Now for the weapons control," Miller said. "We can't let those planet killers launch." In Chicago, Frank's team approached the Zilarian base under cover of darkness. They carried special transmitters that broadcast the frequency that disrupted Zilarian communications. Already, the alien soldiers were showing signs of confusion. "Look," Grace whispered, pointing to the Zilarians guarding the entrance. "They're disoriented." It was true. The alien soldiers were moving erratically, struggling to maintain their positions. Some were clutching their breathing holes, affected by the first wave of the biological agent that had been released earlier. "Now," Frank commanded. His team attacked from multiple directions. Other resistance groups across the city did the same, at different Zilarian positions. The aliens, cut off from their command ship and suffering from the effects of Earth bacteria, couldn't coordinate their defense. On the command ship, Zivrax realized something was terribly wrong. Half his crew had fallen ill, communications were failing, and worst of all, the weapons control center had gone silent. "What is happening?" he demanded of his remaining officers. "Why aren't the missiles launching?" "Sir," an officer reported, "we've detected intruders in the ship. They appear to be humans." "Impossible," Zivrax roared. "How could humans get aboard?" His question was answered when the door to the command center slid open. Captain Miller and his team stood there, no longer wearing their disguises. "This ends now, Commander," Miller said. In the weapons control room, Brooks and the rest of the team worked frantically to disable the planet-killer missiles. The Zilarian technology was complex, but they had studied it carefully. "Almost got it," Brooks said, her fingers flying over the alien controls. "Just need to—" There. The weapons powered down, their launch sequences terminated. Earth was safe from the most deadly threat. Across the planet, resistance forces overwhelmed Zilarian positions. The aliens, sick and unable to communicate with their fleet, began to surrender. After weeks of fighting, the tide had turned decisively. In the Galactic Council chamber, the members watched these events unfold with amazement. Many had dismissed humans as primitive, but now they saw the error of that judgment. "The Council, peacekeeping fleet will arrive at Earth in 6 hours, Trelvor announced. But it appears the humans may have resolved the situation themselves." Counselor Miradak shook her head in wonder. "Perhaps it is we who have something to learn from them." On the Zilarian command ship, Miller faced Commander Zivrax. The alien leader was trapped, his forces defeated, his weapons disabled. "Surrender," Miller said simply. "Your invasion has failed." Zivrax's mandibles clicked in fury. "This is impossible. You are a primitive species. How could you defeat the Zilarian Empire?" Miller's answer was interrupted by a new voice. A transmission from the approaching Galactic Council fleet. "Commander Zivrax," said Counselor Trelvor's voice. "By authority of the Galactic Council, you are ordered to stand down. Your actions were unauthorized and have brought shame upon your people." Zivrax looked from the communication screen to the human standing before him. Finally, he understood the truth that had been in the ancient warnings all along. "You dare to invade Earth?" he said quietly, almost to himself. Perhaps the question should have been, did Earth dare to let us live? 2 months after the failed invasion, the Chicago skyline was still marked by damaged buildings. But everywhere, humans worked together to rebuild. Cranes dotted the horizon. The sounds of construction filled the air. Frank Rivera stood on the rooftop of his apartment building, which was now fully repaired. He watched a strange ship descend from the clouds. Unlike the manta-shaped Zalarian vessels, this one was elegant in silver, with blue lights along its sides. A Galactic Council, diplomatic ship. Still not used to seeing those, said Grace, who had joined him on the roof. Do you think we'll ever get used to knowing we're not alone? Frank shrugged. Humans adapt, it's what we do best. The Zalarian forces had surrendered 3 weeks after Captain Miller disabled their command ship. Some had tried to continue fighting, but without their communications and with many of their soldiers sick from Earth bacteria, they were quickly overwhelmed by united human resistance. The Galactic Council had arrived soon after, not as conquerors, but as peacekeepers. They helped capture the remaining Zalarian troops and began the process of introducing Earth to the wider galactic community. Today was an important day. Earth representatives would address the full Galactic Council for the first time. In Washington, D.C., which was still being rebuilt after the invasion, a special meeting room had been prepared. The president stood with Dr. Olivia Bennett, Captain Daniel Miller, and other key figures who had helped defeat the Zalarians. Are you ready? The president asked them as they waited to enter. As ready as we'll ever be, Miller replied. He had traded his military uniform for a formal suit but still stood with the straight posture of a soldier. Dr. Bennett looked at the data tablet in her hands. I've prepared a presentation on human scientific capabilities. I hope they'll understand our potential. The doors opened. Inside, representatives from over 200 alien species sat in a semicircle. Some looked almost human. Others were completely different, beings of light, crystalline entities, and creatures with multiple limbs or eyes. At the center sat the 3 head counselors, Trelvor, Miradex, and Jorith, who had been promoted after his time on Earth. Welcome, representatives of Earth, Trelvor said. His voice translated perfectly into English. Today marks a historic occasion. For too long your world was known to us only through legends and warnings. Now we meet as equals. The president stepped forward and addressed the council. On behalf of all humans, we come in peace. The Zalarian invasion was a terrible first contact, but we hope it can lead to something positive. We have much to learn from you, and perhaps some things to teach as well. Miradex nodded. Indeed, your species has shown remarkable qualities. When faced with superior technology, you adapted. When faced with overwhelming force, you united. These are traits the Council values highly. In the front row of the Earth delegation, Alicia Johnson watched with amazement. 3 months ago, she had been a nurse in Seattle. Now she was helping establish medical protocols for human-alien interaction. Next to her sat Professor Martinez, who was already working with alien scientists on shared research projects. Counselor Jorith stood and addressed the gathering. During my time on Earth, I saw humans at their best. They saved my life when they could have left me to die. They shared their food when they had little themselves. They fought not just for survival, but for their freedom and dignity. He turned to the Earth delegation. The Council has decided to offer Earth-protected status, with a path to full membership within 10 years. This is unprecedented for a world at your technological stage, but you have proven yourselves worthy. Applause filled the room from both humans and aliens. Dr. Bennett felt tears in her eyes. This was what she had always dreamed of, humanity joining a larger community among the stars. But not all were pleased with the decision. From the back of the room, a Zalarian representative spoke. This is an outrage. These primitives defeated our forces through trickery and biological warfare. They should be quarantined, not welcomed. Captain Miller stood. We used what we had against an enemy that came to conquer us. We didn't start the war, but we finished it. Trelvor raised a hand for silence. Commander Zivrax has been removed from his position, and will face justice for his unauthorized actions. The Zalarian Empire has officially apologized for the invasion. The Zalarian representative clicked his mandibles in anger but said nothing more. After the formal meeting, Earth's representatives mingled with aliens from countless worlds. Frank, who had been invited as a hero of the resistance, found himself talking to a being that looked like a tall, thin version of a human with blue skin. "Your people fought bravely," the alien said. "On my world, we have studied Earth's history for centuries. You humans have a unique quality. You grow stronger through adversity." Frank smiled. "We just do what we have to do. No different than anyone else, I guess." "But that's where you're wrong," the alien replied. "Many species surrender when faced with superior force. Humans never seem to give up." Later that evening, as the council ships prepared to depart, Earth's representatives gathered on the White House lawn, which was finally starting to show green. Again after the battle damage, Captain Miller stood with Dr. Bennett, watching the lights of the alien vessels rise into the night sky. "What do you think happens now?" Bennett asked. "We rebuild," Miller replied. "We learn their technology. We take our place out there." He gestured to the stars above. "Do you think there will be more attempts to conquer us?" she wondered. Miller shook his head. "I doubt it. Word spreads fast. No one's going to make the same mistake the Zalarians did." 6 months later, Chicago looked almost normal again. Frank walked through the restored park near the lake. Next to him was Counselor Joreth, who had been appointed as the permanent Galactic Council representative to Earth. "Your people have accomplished so much in such a short time," Joreth said, his 4 eyes taking in the rebuilt city. "Other species would have taken years to recover from such destruction." Frank nodded. "Like I said, we adapt." They stopped at the lakeshore, where a new monument had been erected. It showed a human hand and an alien hand clasped together, with words in multiple languages beneath it. "There's something I've been curious about," Frank said. "Those ancient warnings about Earth that the Council had. What exactly did they say?" Joreth's expression was serious. "They said that Earth was not quarantined to protect the galaxy from humans, but to protect humans until they were ready to join us. The warnings said, leave them be until they reach for the stars themselves, for once they do, the galaxy will never be the same." As if on cue, they looked up to see a new ship rising from the nearby spaceport, the first Earth vessel built, with Galactic Council technology, heading to establish the first human colony on Mars. "The warnings were right," Joreth said quietly. "The galaxy will never be the same again."